Hi everyone, and welcome to our interview with Sonny Randall. I'm Alli Woods, lead faculty developer for the Center for Teaching and Learning, and we're so glad to have Sonny joining us today as he'll be presenting for our upcoming KU Village, which is titled Convergence Through On-Ground, Online, and Blended Teaching and Learning. KU Village will be held September 26th through 29th, and we hope all of you will be joining us. To give you a better idea of an upcoming presentation that we'll be hosting during that time, Sonny has joined us today and will be telling us a little bit about his background.
So I work for U.S. Bank, and I'm responsible for the leadership development for U.S. Bank proper here in North America, as well as subsidiaries here in North America and in Europe. About 60,000 employees. Of those 60,000, 9,000 are managers of those employees, and I'm responsible for the development, the design of those programs for that group of leaders.
Great, thanks, Sonny. Sonny's presentation is going to be titled Perfect Mistakes, How a Process of Experiences Can Lead to a Richer End Goal. Sonny, can you tell us a little bit about how you got interested in the topic of perfect mistakes?
Yeah. Well, it's really simple because I'm really good at making mistakes.
I think we all
so
are.
That's probably the good place. And being in the field that I'm in, workplace learning and performance, I've often been intrigued by mistakes and how they can actually lead to learning. And so I think I became much more aware of my ability to be imperfect once I had children. Now, my wife Lori and I, we have 3 children. They are 6, 8, and 10. And being a parent, I often realize how, not perfect I am. And I'm one of those fathers who very much likes to be involved with my children's education. So I've gone to their kindergarten classes, their first grade, their second grade classes, and I've helped out. And I've been intrigued by how the teachers approach mistakes. You know, this is the one thing I brought a little prop with me. So this is a box of Crayola crayons, and as crayons are often used a lot in early education, and they're allowed to color outside the lines. They're encouraged to color outside the lines. What I think is interesting is the kids get older, and as we go through our educational processes, it becomes less about making mistakes and it becomes more about being perfect. And so there's a sense that people give us information, and we then in turn have to take that information and give it back to them in such a way to get that better grade. And as we go through school and move into the world of work, the same thing applies, where we have to function in a certain way, perform in a certain way, act in a certain way by which to not only retain our jobs, but also to get promotions. And in doing so, we lose the edge of what does that mean to take a risk and to make a mistake.
Right. And I think that's really interesting, as we're all human beings, and so we have to learn through our mistakes, and I think that's what you're going to be showcasing during KU Village.
Exactly.
Would you be able to share with us some examples of perfect mistakes you've seen professionally?
Absolutely. So I'm coming back to my prop, and I'm actually using Crayola as an example. Mm-hmm. So what I have here is an example of the first Crayola crayon box, the number 8. A couple of things interesting about Crayola is that the crayons that we know now are not the crayons that were introduced in the 1904 World's Fair. But Crayola had an environment, a culture where people were allowed to take risks, to get innovative and creative, and as a result, continue to improve upon the product. Now, something that people may not know about Crayola crayons is that when they were introduced in the 1904 World's Fair, that they won the gold medal for the best new product, and there was only one other product that also won the gold medal for best new product, and that was Jack Daniel's whiskey. So they were in pretty good company. And if you see here that the original Crayola box is designed with the gold medal logo that exists that they were given. And Jack Daniel's whiskey also uses that same logo. But this is what's really interesting about Crayolas, is that they have 99% brand recognition throughout the world. So through a series of mistakes and learning and improving, they've been able to get 99% brand recognition. Can you imagine that for any particular company or group? What's also interesting is that they are amongst the 10 most recognizable smells in the world. And here's the last piece, which I think is really interesting. If you take a Crayola crayon and you smell it, it has been known to reduce your blood pressure by 3 points. So says a Stanford study from a few years ago, and you can take Stanford as word, right? So example of where mistakes led to a really great product.
And think of where we'd be now in the world without Crayola crayons.
Well, my life as a parent is much easier because of them.
It'd be quite different.
Right, right.
Now, as you think about perfect mistakes professionally, do you find that those you worked with or have worked with, does it take time for them to reflect and see where they learn from those?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. Just a few weeks ago, I was speaking at a conference in England, and I had the opportunity when I was back in the green room with some of the other presenters to spend some time talking with Roger Black, who is a British Olympic medalist, several gold medals in track and field. And he and I were talking about that great moment where he is standing on the podium getting his gold medal. And we were talking about what it took to get there. And it was a series, years and years of mistakes, of not just getting it right to the point where he got it perfectly right, but that those mistakes was part of that learning experience. And he said, there was moments where I was living in the insanity. And I was curious about that. I said, tell me more about the insanity. He said, well, you know what the definition of insanity is. And I'm like, oh, that's right. It's doing the same thing, expecting different results. And so I think the way that we approach learning, any type of learning environment, is 4 pieces. One is that there's got to be an experience. The second is that if the experience is good, then knowledge is transferred. If knowledge is transferred, then at that point behavior may change. And if behavior changes, then we actually get to performance. We get to doing something differently, i.e. really now being better because of our mistakes. But that process, that 4-step process, takes time. And for some people, they can move pretty quick through it. For others, it takes some time. But we need to create an environment where they're permitted to make mistakes.
And I think, and I've been with Kaplan for almost 9 years now, I think Kaplan creates an environment, especially within our online community, where we are challenged to take risks and improve and meet the changing demographics of our students. So I think this is a perfect presentation for KU Village. As we wrap up, what do you think are the greatest takeaways for those who will be able to attend your presentation?
Sure, and I love when you asked me this question. I was thinking about it. For me, I think it's first to appreciate making mistakes. I mean, if you think about this, when someone makes mistakes, what do? We're like, ooh, ah. But if we really approach it from this perspective of let's appreciate mistakes, let's praise the effort. If they've made an effort, even if they didn't get to the accomplishment, they praise it. And then when they do, let's reward the accomplishment. So we're going to focus a little bit upon how do we praise effort, creating an environment to take risks and be innovative. That's the first piece. I think the second piece is to have fun. There's a strategy or a perspective that I often use, and it is mistakes plus time equal comedy. And so if you think about it, there's been a time where you've made a mistake, and at that very moment you're like, this sucks. But months later, sitting around a table with friends, having a beer or a glass of wine, you recount the situation, and now it's humorous because time plus mistakes is now funny, right? And that is the process where we kind of learn, where we're able to accept it and move on. And I think the last piece is to know that learning, what we'll walk away from our time together, is that learning is a process, like many of us know, but it's a process that if we are focused on not being perfect, may be more richer than we'd ever expect.
And I think all those will be perfect for our presentation throughout KU Village, and I hope that all of you will be able to join us on Tuesday, September 27th at 2 p.m. to hear more about Sonny and learning from our mistakes. Thanks, Sonny, for today.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.